Ahmed Hussein al-Shara, better known as Abu Mohammad al-Julani, has become a household name, albeit a controversial one. Born in 1982 to Syrian parents, his life story intertwines with some of the most turbulent chapters of the Middle East. His birthplace, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was a world away from the conflict that would define his path. His family's roots, however, lay in the occupied Golan Heights, a region synonymous with resistance and turmoil. The name al-Julani, a constant reminder of this heritage, would become synonymous with both hope and fear. Al-Julani's upbringing was steeped in the complexities of the region. His father, an Islamic activist and oil engineer, instilled in him a strong sense of faith and social justice. His grandfather's legacy, a landowner sentenced to death for opposing French rule, further fueled a sense of defiance against perceived oppression. These formative influences, coupled with the political climate of the Middle East, set the stage for al-Julani's entry into the world of militant jihad. In the late 1990s, a young al-Julani found himself drawn to the ideology of al-Qaeda. Osama bin Laden's message of violent resistance against Western imperialism resonated deeply with the burgeoning activist. Driven by a potent mix of religious conviction and a desire to fight for the downtrodden, al-Julani formally joined al-Qaeda in 2000. This decision would prove to be a pivotal turning point, setting him on a course that would forever alter the trajectory of his life and have profound implications for the Middle East. The turn of the millennium saw al-Julani fully embrace the path of jihad. His commitment to al-Qaeda's cause led him to the battlefields of Iraq, where the US-led invasion had ignited a fierce insurgency. From 2003 to 2006, al-Julani fought alongside other militants, rapidly gaining a reputation for his strategic acumen and unwavering resolve. Within the ranks of al-Qaeda in Iraq, or AQI, he was a rising star, his commitment to the cause unquestioned. Al-Julani's time in Iraq was not only a period of intense combat, but also one of crucial mentorship. He is said to have been closely associated with Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, the ruthless leader of AQI, known for his brutal tactics. While the extent of their relationship remains shrouded in the fog of war, the experience undoubtedly shaped al-Julani's understanding of insurgency and the complexities of waging war in a fractured country. However, al-Julani's rise through the ranks of AQI was abruptly halted in 2006. Captured by US forces, he was imprisoned in Camp Bucca, a notorious detention center in southern Iraq. These years behind bars, far from diminishing his commitment, seemed to have only intensified his resolve. Camp Bucca, ironically, became an incubator for extremist ideology, allowing al-Julani to network with other hardened jihadists and further refine his worldview. The winds of change sweeping the Arab world in 2011 brought with them both opportunity and chaos. The Syrian uprising against President Bashar al-Assad, which began as peaceful protests, quickly descended into a brutal civil war. For al-Julani, released from Camp Bucca just a year prior, the conflict presented a new battlefield in a region already close to his heart. With funding and a mandate from al-Qaeda's central leadership, he crossed into Syria in 2011, determined to shape the course of the revolution. In 2012, al-Julani founded Jabhat al-Nusra, also known as the al-Nusra Front, with the aim of overthrowing the Assad regime and establishing an Islamic emirate in Syria. Backed by the Islamic State of Iraq, the precursor to ISIS, al-Nusra quickly gained notoriety for its battlefield prowess and strict adherence to Islamic law. The group attracted foreign fighters and disaffected Syrian youth alike, becoming a formidable force in the fight against Assad. Al-Nusra's brutal tactics, however, also alienated some segments of the Syrian population. The group's strict interpretation of Islamic law, its penchant for public executions, and its intolerance for dissent raised concerns among those fighting for a more democratic and inclusive Syria. As the conflict raged on, al-Julani found himself navigating the treacherous waters of a multi-sided war, forging alliances and battling rivals, all while trying to maintain his grip on power. Section 4, breaking with ISIS and seeking a new path. As the Syrian conflict escalated, a new and even more brutal actor emerged on the scene, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or ISIS. Led by the enigmatic Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, ISIS harbored ambitions far exceeding those of al-Nusra, aiming to establish a caliphate spanning vast swathes of the Middle East. In 2013, al-Baghdadi declared that al-Nusra was to be merged with ISIS, a move that al-Julani vehemently rejected. Al-Julani's defiance of al-Baghdadi marked a turning point in the Syrian conflict and in his own trajectory. He refused to cede control of al-Nusra, instead pledging allegiance directly to Ayman al-Zawahiri, the leader of al-Qaeda. This decision led to a bitter and bloody feud between ISIS and al-Nusra, further fracturing the Syrian opposition and plunging the country deeper into chaos. In the years that followed, al-Julani sought to distance himself and his group from the brutality and extremism of ISIS. He recognized that aligning too closely with al-Qaeda's global jihadist ideology could alienate potential allies and hinder his ambitions within Syria. This realization would lead him to embark on a calculated campaign of rebranding and repositioning, seeking to portray his group as a more moderate and pragmatic force within the Syrian conflict. The fall of Assad and the rise of a new Syria. On December 8, 2024, Syrian rebels announced the ousting of President Bashar al-Assad after capturing Damascus in a swift 11-day offensive. Assad, who had ruled since 2000, fled the country, marking the end of the Assad family's 54-year dictatorship. Rebel forces, led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, freed prisoners and dismantled regime symbols as citizens celebrated in the streets. Despite hopes for a brighter future, Syria now faces uncertainty, with competing factions vying for power and fears of a political vacuum threatening further instability in the fragile region.